Okay, ladies and gents, I don't think you're going to believe today's article that we're going to go through and talk, or video that we're going to talk about here. This is absolutely outrageous. And I mean outrageous. Almost as outrageous as the fact that YouTube allowed my last video. They didn't shadow ban it, they didn't take it down, and they didn't demonetize it. I mean, what on earth is going on? Can you believe that? It got up to, I don't even, it's over 100,000 views on that video anyway. But I just couldn't believe they allowed that. But today we're going to talk about something probably as outrageous as that. I'm going to go straight to this because I couldn't believe this when I saw it. So, shall I give you context now or after? I think I'll give you context, a little bit of context now and then a little bit after, actually. So, we all know in the United Kingdom, there's a lot of problems. There's some serious, serious problems. But for me, and I'm sure any of you who live in the UK will agree with this, and the older you are, the more you will agree for certain. That's for sure. The healthcare service is probably the biggest issue, I think, at the moment, as well as the mass migration and crime and everything else. But I think the healthcare issue is one of the biggest problems that we've got. And I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad. I've just found out something that I couldn't even believe. And I'll go through it all and I'll read it all for you. But here's a quick summary. People who are illegally in the UK get priority treatment in the UK. It's called the 15-minute service. No, not 15-minute cities, which it sounds like. It's called the 15-minute service. Now, if you are a normal citizen, you are a citizen of the UK, you can wait. You probably know yourself if you've been to A&E. I've had to go twice because I'm that sort of person. I have accidents. But I've had to go twice. Once I was told it was a 12-hour wait. Another time they said, oh, it could be 15 hours. You may as well come back tomorrow type thing. It's crazy, right? Well, there's a service now called the 15-minute service. I'm going to read all this out to you because I didn't know whether to laugh out of pure anger or to be outraged. I just, sometimes people say, Neil, why do you laugh at these things? It's because for some of you, you might only see these videos once in a while. I see this stuff non-stop, all day, every day. That's what I do when I'm researching all the crazy stuff. If I don't laugh these things off, it will drive me crazy. And I'm not joking there. It will drive me crazy because I get so angry at all of the stories because I see the stories. I see the story of someone posting on X or something like that about their grandmother who died, or someone else who died, and there wasn't an ambulance available at this time. They went to A&E and they didn't get seen, and all the other stuff. It's crazy, these stories, and it does pull on you emotionally. So that's why. Okay, let me go over and read this because it's a bad one. Okay, so it's talking about then this new service. It's called the Priority NHS Service for Migrants, undocumented migrants. And it says here then that they start with a little story. It's Thursday evening just before 10 p.m. and the Accident and Emergency Department, and they're going to use an example here of University College Hospital in central London. It says it's absolutely heaving. There's no seats, and there's dozens of patients standing on a ledge. Why are they standing on a ledge? I'm not sure. It says standing on a ledge next to the window, visible to passers-by. There's already a queue of 70 patients, and it's only likely to get longer as the night goes on. It's not unusual, this site now in Britain. Official figures from the NHS, which is the National Health Service, reveal that 1 in 4 people have to wait more than 4 hours to be seen at accident and emergency. More than 45,000 patients, meanwhile, were delayed more than 12 hours. Doesn't surprise me at all in an emergency that these things are happening now. And I've got a lot of nurses and doctors who are subscribers here, and I do enjoy reading those comments. So I know how angry sometimes you get as well, at the way there's this double standard. It's a two-tier healthcare now, I think it's going to be the next slogan. So it says, yet here there is one way you can get seen earlier. Indeed, for certain members of society, you can get assessed in just a quarter of an hour. It's called the 15-minute service. This service only goes to, it says here in black and white, undocumented migrants. Okay, it says as well. Hold on. It says it only goes to, then it says as well as homeless and drug addicts. So it's not only, it's those three categories. Under a scheme called, anyone taking notes, it's called 987 Inclusion Health. Patients within these categories needing an assessment can ask for an appointment at A&E, and they get bumped to the top of the queue, basically. They get initial tests, all sorts of assessments, then they go through to a consultant or a specialist for more thorough evaluations. Let's just pause for a second here, because this is already making me really annoyed and angry to read this. I've made it quite a heavy focus now to do a lot of stuff on my own health. So I'm always working on my own health, even out here. Currently in Bangkok, Thailand. And whenever I come here every year, I will do something for my health. So each year I kind of focus on one thing or another. So one thing I'm focusing on the moment is that when I was in the army for 10 years, like most soldiers, I'm not, on my own here. Most of us get injured. We get all sorts of injuries, whether it's spinal, whether it's your feet, whether it's your hips or your knees or shoulders is a big one, right? We all get these injuries, and it takes a long time to get over a lot of this stuff. So, for example, I have had a hip problem, right hip, for ages and ages and ages. I went through the NHS, couldn't see a doctor. It was, it was almost impossible. Then I wanted to see a specialist, couldn't do that. So I paid for an X-ray. The X-ray was, I think it was £140 for this set of X-rays. And I'll tell you why this is relevant in a minute. So I'm going to show you a piece of paper here. So it's about £140. Then they said, actually, the X-ray is not quite conclusive. And again, I had to take the X-ray to a private doctor, and I had to pay for them to tell me because there was no appointments for me to see my own doctor, right? So you see where this is going. And the sort of advice was I needed an MRI scan so they could look at other things. I don't know medicines, but something to do with the muscles and how it goes around the hip bone or whatever. So they said you need an MRI scan. It could be a tear or something else, right? So anyway, this goes on and on. It's never going to happen. The MRI, the doctor said, you can wait 2 years, something like that. So what did I do when I came out here? And again, people will say, well, Neil, you've got the money to do it. Just wait. Hold on a second. How can I hide my private information? I'll just show you the bottom here. So this was 8 different kinds of X-rays on the knees and the hips and all sorts of other things. I saw the doctor 3 times. I saw 3 nurses. And the total price in Thai baht is right there, 5,575 in Thai baht. Okay, so let me just tell you what that is. That would have cost, I don't know, £1,000 or something in the UK. So that is in British money or US money. You can see it right there. That's £129 or $160. So that was half a day of all these experts giving me treatment at a private hospital, right? But why? Why do you have to pay these things? I know a lot of people do this. They go to different countries now. It's called medical tourism. Why is it that people, British people, and other countries, I know you're watching from other countries, you pay into a healthcare system your whole life. You pay into this social system, whether it's the national insurance or whatever it is for pensions or healthcare. And then you get these laws coming down from the EU or wherever these new laws are coming from that makes it a legal requirement for people from outside who are not even here legally in the country to get priority service. It's absolutely outrageous, and I can't believe more people are not outraged by this. And yet when I say these things, people say, oh, this guy, he's a racist, he's a this, he's a that. Can you believe what he says? He's got no compassion for these people who are fleeing, blah, blah, blah. A lot of them are not fleeing these, whatever people are saying, these crises and stuff. Some of them are simply just economic migrants. And I know people get upset when I say that, but it's the truth. People have been brainwashed by the media into not realizing this. That's all it is. It's brainwashing. Yes, there's asylum seekers. There's people that genuinely need help. I'm not saying anything against that. But when you've got now this mass flow that's taken over the healthcare system where they haven't paid anything in, people have paid something in, and then they get it makes no sense. It doesn't exist in the real world. This is just politicians doing it from a socialist mindset. It would never last. It would never survive the test of time. So let me just continue on then with this. So yeah, it's talking about all of this, and it says it's our obligation to support migrants. It doesn't say illegal migrants. It says undocumented migrants before others. So they're basically saying before the citizens, that they need to have priority to the healthcare. And then they say all these other reasons which make no sense whatsoever. So they're basically saying that they have this goal by 2030 to equalize I don't know if it's the UK, equalize the world, whatever they're saying. And they're saying that because British people have had access to healthcare for so long, they're healthier than people who are coming in from these other countries. So their justification is they need to give the priority to these other people from other countries in order to balance out the healthcare and make the world a more equitable place, or the country a more. It's bollocks. It's absolute nonsense, all of this stuff. It's crazy talk. And it goes into all of the stuff that they get. So they get referrals to specialist services. So it doesn't matter how long you've been on the waiting list. It says they get bumped to the front of the waiting list. And again, I'm reading all this stuff. I've checked it as much as I possibly can. The Telegraph have done a big article on it, so it's obviously been verified. It says, in contrast, 15% of locals had to wait at least a week before seeing a doctor last month. In Stoke-on-Trent, an NHS team is on hand to help failed asylum seekers access a GP and a dentist. It says that there was a survey that found 73% of people in the city struggled to see a dentist. But then it goes on to talk about how they will be charged at 150% of the NHS rate. However, no one to this point has been charged, because if you can prove you are unable to return to your home country, the fee is waived. Well, obviously, that's all going to be waived. It just goes on and on, by the way, with all this stuff. It says these schemes, there are new schemes that have been funded too. They're designed to educate migrants on how to navigate the health service so they can get access to all the services they need. In October, residents in Nottingham were up in arms, not literally at this point, but they will be eventually, after the council ring-fenced £684,000 of funding for a specialised healthcare access for asylum seekers and refugees over the next 5 years. That same month, a GP surgery, so a doctor's surgery in the city, it's called the Forest Practice, had to close due to a lack of funding. And a committee representing doctors warns that up to 1/3 could close within the next few years if they don't get funding. So again, it's double standards. There's no funding for the doctor's surgeries, but then there's all this funding. £684,000 was spent just on educating these migrants how they can get free services. It's madness. It's madness. NHS England says the schemes form part of its plan to hit the government's ambition to reduce health inequality and improve life expectancy across the board by 2035. So this is one of the points that is in this article as well. It says making up the majority of this group is vulnerable migrants and refugees. An NHS spokesman adds that the health service is legally required to provide healthcare services to asylum seekers, migrants, etc., which are free, and has a legal duty to address inequalities. So let's just break this down. People who are not from this country, and including those who have entered illegally, get preferential treatment over those people who have the right to live in the UK, work in the UK, and have paid into the system. That's basically what they're saying here. And let me just grab this for you as well. Let me just share this. So I was watching some of these videos. Now, this is from a while back. It's about a year ago now. But this gentleman, this doctor, was asked about healthcare.
In the best way, no, absolutely not. And something we
So asking, is he offering the best healthcare? And he said no.
often talk about is the least worst option. So, you know, it's trying to do the best that we can with the facilities and the space that we have.
The least worst option. I mean, how does that make you feel as a consultant?
Terrible. I mean, it's terrible for all the staff. It's extremely demoralising.
But before...
So you can watch any of these clips you want to. But this was the one I think started all of this. This was a couple years back now. It wasn't quite within the whole COVID era, but it was around that time. But you remember this, it was the 13-hour wait. Let me play this for you as well.
170 patients in the department, that's 170, quite a few. There are 90 patients waiting to be seen at the moment, that's 90 of you are still waiting to be seen. Our current wait time for a doctor is 7.5 hours.
7.5 hours.
By the time I go home in the morning at 8 o'clock, some of you will still be here waiting for a doctor, because the wait will get up to 12 or 13 hours. I will expect that. There are currently no beds in the trust. We're trying to make some space if we can, but if people are admitted, there is...
Anyway, you get the idea. It just on and on and on and on. So this as well, 12-hour waits in winter becoming normalized now. So they're trying to set the expectations here that, look, this is what you need to get used to. That's what they're telling everybody. You need to get used to this now. You're not going to get priority treatment. People who are illegally in the country are going to get priority treatment over you or your parents or your grandparents. Doesn't matter, you know, they're going to get the priority treatment because there's a law. They don't say who sort of set this law, but there's a law now that says they have to get priority treatment. It's outrageous. It really is. I look forward to the day when I can get back to my bread and butter work on here, you know, finance and economics and everything else. But these things just keep happening. It's so bad and outrageous. I have to keep informing you of all the things going on. It's sad, and it's really sad. And I hope at some point this is all going to turn around. I do think we're going to hit that tipping point I talked about on the last video soon enough, and things are going to get crazy. It's only a matter of time. All right. Thanks so much for being online, and remember to subscribe if you like what I said. Some people won't have liked this video. I can imagine the comments, but there you go. It is what it is, ladies and gents. I say it how I see it. Thank you so much for being a subscriber here. Take care. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next video.